Edwards Virginia Smokehouse presents the Cured Meat Podcast.
Today's question comes from Matthew, and he writes, one of the most confusing topics for me as a hobbyist in meat curing and smoking is how much pink salt to use in various situations. The package of pink salt gives an amount per pound of meat, but translating this into various methods of application that will impact how much pink salt actually gets into the meat product, such as dry rubbing, brine, pickle, injection, and overnight cover brine, is very confusing. Would love to see a podcast about this.
Well, at Edwards, we did use the pink cure with bacon, and there is a calculation in the USDA regs to keep it less than, off the top of my head, I'd have to go look it up, but I think it's like 2 million parts, 1 part per 2 million, which is like minuscule for bacon. In the case of ham, we did not use pink cure. We used, which pink cure, by the way, for those who don't know, is salt that has 6.25% sodium nitrite in it. And it's typically tinted with pink coloring, so people don't get it confused with regular salt. And nitrite is really the more intense form of nitrate. It acts really quickly, versus nitrate is a slow release version of the same thing. And we like to use nitrate on our hams and nitrite on bacon, because bacon, we need it to act quickly. Nitrate, we like to put on hams because we like the curing process is 30 days, and we like it to release over a longer period of time while we're aging the hams. Nitrite bacon is cured for 7 days and is tempered for a couple of weeks. So we want the nitrate to hit and do its thing right away. And I do agree that it is complicated, the directions that they put on there, and it depends on whether you're going to brine it, dry cure it. And I wish I could be more definitive on the answer there. But it is based on poundage. Is it dry cured? Is it wet cured? How big the meat is that you're curing, and the type of meat. And I wish I could be more definitive with you on that. Again, the only thing I can go by is the bacon that we did, and we used very, very little of it. In the case of ham, we use dry salt, all burger flake salt, and we use 3.5 ounces of sodium nitrate with an A, per 100 pounds of meat. We would literally put a pinch of it on the face of the ham and rub it in. And we would pre-measure how many ounces or pounds of nitrate we needed per combo of hams. A combo of hams is a cardboard vat of fresh hams that comes into us. And it would say have 1,800 pounds. So we do the math. How many pounds of sodium nitrate do we need per that 1,800 pound batch of fresh hams? Measure it out. And then the guys that are applying it, just through experience, know about how much to put on there on each ham. And in theory, when you get to the last ham, you're scraping the last of that sodium nitrate out of the pre-weighed bag of sodium nitrate. As far as the salt is concerned, we use about 10 pounds of salt per hundredweight of ham. Now that sounds like a lot. We don't put, let's say for sake of example, 6 pounds of ham per hundredweight of salt. 6 pounds of salt per hundredweight of ham. We control the amount of salt going into the ham by the number of days in salt. So we wrap the hams up in salt. We rub them down with salt, and then we wrap them up with salt. Then after 5 days, we knock the salt off after we put the salt and sodium nitrate on the first salting. Second salting, 5 days later, we don't put the sodium nitrate back on it. We just resalt them. Again, heavy dose of salt. We're using, again, between 8 and 10 pounds of salt per hundredweight of ham on the salt and the resalt. And then control the amount going in by the size of the ham. So if 17 to 20 pound hams, let's say, they would stay in salt about 30 days. And then 20 to 23 pound hams would be 32 days, and so on. The bigger the ham, the extra couple days were added onto it. At the end of the day, they were averaging about 4.5% salt content in the finished product. That was our goal. Some people I know leave hams and salt 45, 50 days, which is, it certainly ensures that you're not going to have spoilage problems because the amount of salt that gets in there ends up being somewhere around 5.5, maybe even 6% salt. But I feel like if you rub that salt in, pack that hock with salt good, rub that butt good, and then make sure it's wrapped up. And during the 30 days or so that the hams and salt, any hams that are on top of the pile as you're stacking them, you make sure that they stay covered. So you walk back in the next day and the salt that's been absorbed, you throw a little bit of salt on top of them, especially on the top of the pile, because you just don't want that meat to be exposed, especially for the first week or so. That would absorb the right amount of salt over the course of that 30-day period. And again, I think using the Allburger flake salt is the best because it's hard. I don't have any scientific data to back this up, but I know we've used different granulated salts. They taste saltier. It's the only thing I can tell you. They just taste saltier to me. And they have a tendency to roll off the ham. Granulated salt, because it's round salt, rolls off. Flake salt will stay on. And the Allburger process has less caving. So when that salt's being absorbed, the salt has a tendency, some types of salt have a tendency to cave. And when I say that, the top side of it gets crusted, and then the salt underneath it absorbs in, and the salt on the top stays hard and doesn't go into the ham. You don't want that either. So that's why I like that meat salt Allburger process. And then lastly, I had the honor and privilege, I guess, of taking a tour of some hams and how they cure them in Spain, which I thought was very interesting. They use a Mediterranean sea salt, which is favored in Italy and Spain. Interestingly enough, they advertise them as no nitrate, but Mediterranean sea salt naturally has sodium nitrate in it, which is why everybody likes Mediterranean sea salt to cure their meat. But it's more like a rock salt, and it liquefies. And when it liquefies, that's how it gets in the ham, which is very effective too. And there are also some nuances about using Mediterranean sea salt. You don't want to use it right out of the bag. You want to dump it into your refrigerator or the cooler that you're curing the meat and let it season for a couple of days. Let it start to melt a little bit, so it's starting to melt, so that it's not just this hard rock, because it'll literally burn the meat if it's dry like that. Let it start to melt. I'm not sure I answered the question completely because of pink salt. I have a very little experience with it other than with pre-mixed. I typically would buy, we had a formula for it, and we would, for our pump product that had pink cure in it. And we gave the formula to the manufacturer of our pump product, and they put the pink cure in because it is so complicated to figure out. We wanted to make sure we weren't going to be in violation of a USDA reg, but at the same time getting enough in it to make sure that it cured the ham adequately. That's all I can tell you about that. Google can be a big help.
Yeah, and one quick note, Sam mentioned Mediterranean sea salt, and a lot of people thinking that there aren't any, nitrates, whatever in there. The big thing to consider if you're using Mediterranean sea salt is the inconsistency. It does have nitrates in it, naturally occurring. Salt Mines of Mother Earth been putting out naturally occurring sodium nitrate for years, but it's all about that exact science and consistency in the amount of nitrate being used in the curing process. And, it's very uneven in Mediterranean sea salt. You're not really sure about the exact percentage you're getting, where the way that we do it, it's absolutely controlled. We know how much is going on. And the key with nitrates really is it's, salt is one of the best antimicrobials in the world. And that's really where the nitrate and nitrites come in is, when we were talking to Dana last week, it's about making sure we're safely curing product, which can be a big challenge for the home curer. So when it comes into pink salt, You also, and Sam, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but it definitely, I think, would also come into play if they're doing a solid muscle meat versus a sausage or salami or something along those lines. Because whenever you grind a meat, you're opening more opportunity for air and surface area of the meat itself to come in contact or potential contact with the bacteria forming around. You grind it, all the moisture that's in there is now definitely exposed. So, if you're doing a solid muscle, your percentage probably needs to be lower. If you're doing any ground sausage, salami, anything along those lines, you would definitely want to probably amp that up. But as Sam said, it can be complicated, and it's a matter of really check your recipes. And yeah, sometimes Google can be a really good source for that. I think I've mentioned it before. Virginia Tech, I know on their website, or if you just how to cure at home, the Virginia Tech Food Science Department has some wonderful information out there. Probably one of the most detailed I've seen on how to cure a ham at home. I would imagine if you dive down deep enough on their meat science department side, you could probably find a little bit better information as far as whether you're doing solid muscle or ground meat.
Yeah. One other thing to add, I know a lot of people say that meat cure folks use sodium nitrate and nitrite to make that meat red. That's not why we do it. It's a byproduct of it is the red tint, or not tint, but the red mahogany colors that you get out of it. But it's to prevent botulism. I mean, we're using it to make the meat safe to eat. It was the original intent. And again, the side effect of that is that it changes the color of the meat, and people now become to expect that. And also has more of a cured taste to it. In my opinion, I know there's people out there that claim that they're curing it with just salt and sugar, things like that. But I know shelf life issues can come about. I'd much rather have it safe to eat, really sure that it's safe to eat, versus things that have a very short shelf life or no shelf life at all, and people are consuming it, and it's doesn't have the antimicrobial properties that the salt and sodium nitrate have.
Got a cured meat question? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.